told to drink more water? Perhaps you have heard that it's good for your kidneys, especially for PKD kidneys. Maybe you are even on tolvaptan or Genarcu and have also heard it referred to as a V2 receptor blocker or antagonist. Now, I bet you are wondering what these two statements and topics have in common. Better yet, how are they both connected with PKD? Spoiler alert, they are connected by something called vasopressin. And in this episode of the PKD Dietitian Podcast, I am going to break down what vasopressin is, what it does in the body, how different levels impact PKD progression, and last but not least, what you can do about it. Some simple steps to take for all you PKDers. Part of nutrition and lifestyle changes to support PKD health and slower progression is understanding how PKD works or doesn't. And if you've been a loyal listener for a while now, you know that I love educating the PKD community about the what and the why with PKD, putting it all together for you in a way that makes sense, in a way that helps you with positive changes. So let's get to it. What exactly is vasopressin? Simply put, it's a hormone, which is a chemical messenger in your body. We all make vasopressin and use it in our bodies, and it's especially important when it comes to maintaining fluid balance. With PKD, vasopressin has a bit of a different role. More on that to come later. Now, vasopressin goes by two other names, and I want to mention them for you just in case that's the term you have heard or read about. The two other names vasopressin goes by are, number one, antidiuretic hormone, ADH, or arginine vasopressin, AVP. Let's look a little bit more into vasopressin and how it can impact what your kidneys are doing. Vasopressin essentially tells your kidneys what to do around fluid. When there's higher levels of vasopressin, it says to increase water absorption. And when there's lower levels, it tells your kidneys to decrease water absorption. Its main function is to regulate your kidney's ability to reabsorb fluid. Because of that, vasopressin plays a very important role in regulating and maintaining fluid balance and your blood pressure. Looking at when vasopressin is released in our bodies, there are really two main scenarios. The first scenario is your body needs more fluid, so more vasopressin is released. And the second scenario is your body doesn't need more fluid. Levels aren't increased because your body doesn't release it. The question now is, when does your body need more fluid? Or what scenarios will trigger more vasopressin to be released in your body? Hang on to your seats. We are going to take a look at what's called the vasopressin pathway. It's a 3-step pathway that leads directly to your kidneys. The first step in the vasopressin pathway is that vasopressin is released. It's released when it's responding to numerous situations in your body, and here are some. If your fluid levels are low, say for example you're dehydrated, then vasopressin will be released and that hormone will be increased. Just so you know, vasopressin is actually released before you quote unquote feel thirsty. Vasopressin is also released if the balance of sodium and fluid in your blood is off balance. Essentially, if it's too concentrated with sodium. Another situation where your body triggers vasopressin release is if you have higher concentrations of glucose in your blood. If there is a drop in blood pressure, that will also trigger vasopressin release. It's your body's natural response to help maintain blood pressure. So as you can see, it is all about fluid balance and concentration. And vasopressin is released with lower fluid levels or higher concentrations of sodium, glucose, and some other things in your blood. The second step in the vasopressin pathway is that vasopressin which has been released, that hormone. It travels in your body and it finds its way to receptors on the kidneys. Now, these receptors are called the V2 receptors. And yes, you guessed it, the V is for vasopressin. V2 receptors are like the gatekeepers to your kidneys for vasopressin. The vasopressin hormone primarily acts on your kidneys. Now, this makes total sense because they are in charge of filtering fluid and reabsorbing what the body needs and getting rid of what it doesn't. The third step in the vasopressin pathway is once that vasopressin binds to those V2 receptors, it starts a chain of events in the kidneys. What this leads to is that your kidneys will reabsorb fluid because your body wants to hold on to more fluid, and also fluid will be secreted in the kidneys. Guys, this is very normal and it is an important body process. All of our bodies are doing this. When the fluid balance is restored, essentially that vasopressin is turned off. So no more vasopressin is released and the amount that you have circulating in your body decreases. There you have it, the 3 steps of the vasopressin pathway. Number 1, something in the body triggers vasopressin to be released. Second, that vasopressin goes and lands on these V2 receptors on your kidneys, the gatekeepers to your kidneys. And then third, that cascade of events happens in your kidneys where they will reabsorb more fluid and also release some into the kidneys. This is actually called concentrating your urine, because if your body is holding on to fluid it needs, there's going to be less in your urine. But what I want you to know here is that this is not quite how it works with PKD. So let's get into more specifically how vasopressin is connected to PKD and progression. Because of the altered PKD1 or PKD2 genes that come with a PKD diagnosis, some pathways in your body are more active with PKD. I think of them as essentially being overstimulated. The main overstimulated pathway associated with PKD cyst growth is the vasopressin pathway. And that vasopressin hormone is a driver of cyst growth. That whole pathway increases fluid secretion in the kidneys and to cyst cells. And this then increases cyst cell growth and even multiplication. Higher levels of vasopressin circulating around the body are absolutely associated with faster progressing PKD, larger cyst, and lower kidney function. So if we take it back a step, with the PKD genes, vasopressin levels are naturally higher in PKDers. There's higher concentrations. And because of this, vasopressin is a key target for treatment for PKD. Simply put, less vasopressin is good, and it equals slower cyst growth. We absolutely want to try and turn down that overstimulated vasopressin pathway, or at least not add to it. By now, you might be thinking of asking your doctor or nephrologist if they can check your vasopressin levels. Well, guess what? Vasopressin has a pretty short lifespan in our bodies, so it's really difficult to measure accurately. In most clinical studies looking at vasopressin, a test called copeptin is done. What this measures is, you guessed it, copeptin levels in the body. And they're used as a stand-in to look at vasopressin. The reason that this works is copeptin is released at the same time and in the same amounts as vasopressin, so it really is a good way to measure. However, a copeptin test is not yet commonplace in outpatient care for PKD. How do diet and hydration impact my vasopressin levels, for better or worse? It really is the million-dollar question. I'm going to give you examples of ways that diet can increase vasopressin levels. And of course, we don't want to do this. But know the connection between all of these is that they all lead to more concentrated body fluid, either by reducing the actual amount of fluid coming in or increasing the concentration of those unwanted particles. So here are the ways that diet can trigger more vasopressin to be released. If you have low fluid intake, of course, not well hydrated. If you have high sodium intake, a diet that is high in protein intake also increases vasopressin levels. And a diet that is heavy in added sugar consumption. So let me repeat those. Ways that vasopressin is impacted negatively, meaning we have more by diet, is if there's bad hydration practices, high salt intake, high protein intake, and a heavy consumption of added sugar. And each of these stands alone as being a scenario that could impact your levels. And just to touch on some lifestyle factors that are associated with higher vasopressin levels, and I'm sharing this with you so if you can relate or if this is something that you're working on or want to work on, you will understand exactly how you are benefiting and helping yourself by making positive changes. So those lifestyle factors are poorly controlled diabetes, of course, because you're going to have high blood sugar levels. Both obesity and diabetes are associated with higher levels of vasopressin. So carrying around a bunch of extra weight, we know, is associated with worst outcomes for PKD, but also just think about it in the opposite way. Getting moving, better diet. Not only are you dropping the weight, but you're also dropping your vasopressin levels. And smoking. So the three lifestyle factors that are associated with higher levels of vasopressin are high blood sugars with poorly controlled diabetes, obesity, and smoking. Your takeaway from all of this, I hope, is that all of these factors are modifiable and can be managed with diet and lifestyle changes. So you have the ability to make the changes and positively impact your progression. We do know that increased water intake, so that good hydration that you're practicing, reduces vasopressin levels and may slow cyst growth. Studies have also shown that if you have an average sodium intake over that 2,300 milligrams, it will accelerate the progression of PKD, and that's mainly because of the vasopressin pathway. We also know that a chronic high-protein diet, like a keto or carnivore diet, causes a chronic rise in vasopressin. These are all examples that you are able to put into practice in your life with the treatment goals of blocking the effect of vasopressin on your kidneys and lowering the amount that is circulating. I want to touch on tolvaptan and Genarq. And if you remember way back to the beginning, I referred to them as V2 receptor blockers or V2 antagonist. The tolvaptan or Genarq blocks that vasopressin from landing on that receptor on your kidneys. So it ultimately reduces the amount of vasopressin that is able to start that cascade of increasing fluid secretion and fluid to your cyst. And that is how it can help slow the progression of PKD. Now, if you want to see a really nice image of your kidney and tolvaptan and it coming to land on those receptors, if you're a visual learner, I've linked out a blog I did on fluid and how much you should drink. And there's a really nice section in there talking about tolvaptan. While you were listening to this, if there was something in there that you thought of, hey, that is an area I would like to improve on in my diet or my lifestyle, focus on that one thing. You don't have to do all of the things all of the time. So I'd like to end here with a list of all the things that you can do to reduce your vasopressin. You can keep your sodium intake lower than 2,300. You can make sure that your protein consumption is not high for your needs. You can practice good hydration because that definitely adds up. If you're a smoker, absolutely quit smoking. And if you're carrying some extra pounds, start working towards a healthier weight. All of these pieces will positively impact your progression of PKD. So in summary, vasopressin is a hormone that runs higher with PKD. It is a driver of cyst growth and PKD progression. And you have the power with nutrition to help decrease how much additional is released in your body. Because really, the ultimate goal is to lower that circulating amount and to slow your progression. And that's it for today, folks. I hope you found this episode valuable. Please consider leaving a review or a 5-star rating for the PKD Dietitian Podcast. It truly means a lot to me, and I read every review. Plus, it helps others in the PKD community find the podcast. If you are an Apple Podcast listeners, here's how to rate, review, and even follow. First, open up the PKD Dietitian Podcast homepage on your Apple Podcast. Scroll to the very bottom, tap that 5 stars to rate the show. And if you would like to leave a review, select write a review and you are able to. If you haven't done so already, make sure to follow the podcast and never miss an episode.